Call to order the October 9th meeting of the Clive City Council. Would the clerk please call roll?
Mayor Edwards,
Here.
council members Weaver,
Here.
McCoy,
Here.
Judkins,
Here.
Klein,
Here.
Hawker.
Here.
Would you all please rise and join us in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have the agenda, which needs an amendment to item 6. Item 6 should be first consideration, not second consideration.
Move approval with the amendment. Second.
Motion second on the agenda. Further discussion, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Our agenda is approved. Next, we have our citizens presentation. This is the opportunity for anyone to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda. If you have something to speak to the council on, please approach the podium and identify yourself. In the meantime, Pete will check and see if we have anyone online.
For those online who would like to make a comment, you can use the raise hand function on your Zoom screen. Go ahead and click the react button and click raise hand. Mayor, I do not see any hands going up.
And I think we have someone here in the council chambers. So let me just remind everyone here that we follow the pillars of character counts, endeavoring at all times to promote and model the principles of trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. In all that we do and in all the participants that are here, we expect everyone to respect those principles. So, sir, if you could identify yourself.
My name is William Boots. I recently purchased the property at 12960 Clark Street. And have contracted with a fence company to build a fence in the backyard. We have a pretty good sized German Shepherd that we just want to keep under control there. So this is for, so trying to pull the building permit and trying to get the building permit approved, we find out that water engineer, I guess, has determined that there is a waterway in the backyard of this house. You can see there the blue hash mark line. So according to the engineer, Jeff May, he said that we have to put a gate on either side in the easement there. I'm asking for a variance that we can put the gate at the back of the house and give it access to the backyard that way, as opposed to putting it clear back in the middle of our backyard. And anyway, so that's what that is. I'm not sure where it's documented, and I haven't been able to find out in conversations with Mr. May and Kelly Rivera, who I talked to in the office. I haven't been able to find out where it's documented that this is a waterway, number one. Number two, that I have to put a gate on both of my lot lines inside of that waterway. So I have safety concerns, having unlocked gates in my backyard with my dog out in the backyard. And I have security concerns, with my house in general, having unlocked gates in the yard. So I'm just here looking for some common sense. There's no way that if I put a gate at each location, there's no way to access that gate without infringing on properties of my neighbors, both to the east and west. And so I don't know why I can't just have a gate up by the side of my house, if you need access to the property, come through those gates instead of a gate back on the beach.
Well, Mr. Boots, thank you. Pete or Jeff, could you speak to this issue?
Yeah, Jeff, if you could come forward and give a little more of the context of where we sit with this unique piece of property.
Yeah, and when we say waterway, are we talking about a water easement?
Yes.
I'm assuming.
You have that other exhibit that shows the whole bigger one.
Yeah, it's right there on the presenter machine. You can select the other.
So, sir, where you would find that easement documented would be when you purchase the home, it would be in your title opinion, which is a legal document. Well, it's your property. You paid for it as part of your purchase of your home. So I don't know if you worked with a realtor or whoever did your closing, they would have a copy of your title opinion that you should be able to obtain, and it would be documented in there.
What we're looking at several years ago, should say a year and a half, 2 years ago, we looked at this issue. As you can see, there's a blue there, goes from 128th Street to the west, that's an overlay and flowage easement through there that the city has to maintain. That easement gives us access to get through there and maintain that easement. A year and a half ago, before that time, we actually said, okay, you sign this, the only way you get the permit is you agree to allow us to tear your fence down if we need in there. If we look at that, that not only slows us down, it also becomes an issue of restoration, which the property owner is responsible for. So a year and a half, 2 years ago, we started requiring all gates that cross this overland flowage easements, or all fences that cross an overland flowage easement to put gates in so that we can get access there. The access would come from 128th and would go all the way up through there. There may be some fences that were constructed previous to this time that are an issue, but should they ever come back and ask for a permit or something, we would require a gate at that time. Again, the access would be from 128th. That's the only way we can get through there. As he mentioned, we could come from the other, but we don't have permission or easements to come across the rest of their property. So that's why we started requiring the gates.
Jeff, there's a storm sewer then underneath that in this.
There is not, this is overland flowage.
So tell me a little bit more about that. What's the purpose of that? And then why do we need access to it? What type of actions do we take in there?
Again, it's an overland flowage easement. If flow would ever get blocked or redirected towards another structure or something, again, I don't have the specifics of this one. We have to maintain it to be able to flow water through there.
Okay.
Sometimes the fences that get put in catch leaves and cause things, and those need to be cleaned out. We can tell the property owner they have to do it. But if it's directing water towards another structure or another property, it needs cleaned right away.
So, Mr. Mayor, since we're looking for a variance on an easement, would this not be more appropriate for the Board of Adjustments?
I would think so. So that would be the appropriate route to take. And Doug, wait,
Unless,
Doug's shaking his head.
Yes, in this particular circumstance, what is technically being requested is an amendment to the recorded easement that has been granted to the city. This is not a function of the zoning ordinance, which is the Board of Adjustment.
but an amendment would apply to everyone across the city then, correct?
Have to. So in this particular case, what is in front of you tonight is a proposed amendment to the easement with respect to this particular piece of property within this particular statute, the city. So my point is, it's not a function of the Board of Adjustment. It is truly the city council's choice. Want to allow an exception in this particular easement or this particular request, that's your prerogative. Or you could say, we don't do this ever again, or again, this is a function of the city council's willingness.
Well, thank you, Doug. It seems to me this is a matter of first impression for us, and that we probably need a report from staff and more information. It's not something we can decide this evening. So if most of the council feels the same way, Mr. Boots will get more information on this from our staff and be able to report back to you in due course.
I would ask,
Would you come to the mic, please?
I would ask that whoever's doing that, come out and view the property. Actually physically come see the property and like, it's really, it's a hill. That's what it is. It levels off right there. And to me, it's not really a waterway. That's why I said it's a closed waterway. But anyway, if it could at least be physically looked at just before that, that'd be good too.
Well, thanks for raising the issue for us, and we'll have staff look into it, and then it'll come back for the council for review.
Oh, well, somebody notify me when that review's taking place.
Absolutely, absolutely. I assume we have his contact information.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Pete. Is there anyone else in the chamber to address the council on a matter that is not on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move to consent.
Move approval?
Second.
Motion second on consent. Further discussion, seeing none, will the council please vote? And will the clerk please post that vote?
Hold on 1 second. Sorry, my computer just crashed. Coming back up. Go ahead and vote now.
And it's a suspenseful vote, but it passes 5-0. Very good. Next up, we have our public hearing. Did we publish the appropriate public notice, Matthew?
Yes, Your Honor, it was published September 26, 2025 in the Des Moines Register.
Very good. Amanda?
Good evening. Tonight we have before you the public hearing on the development agreement with Danner Distillery. This is the TIF-related development agreement we've discussed in a few previous meetings. You all have already approved the site plan. The development agreement is consistent with that site plan. It includes the tasting room, the public component to be incorporated in there. It lays out that TIF funding at approximately $585,000 total over 10 years on a sliding scale. Mr. Danner and his team are in the audience tonight if you have any questions. But with that, staff would recommend approval of the agreement.
Questions for Amanda or,
Man, we heard anything back from neighbors or any other comments?
Nope, we didn't get any comments. No complaints, no concerns have been raised.
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second?
motion second to close public hearing. Before we do, is there anyone in the chambers here who wishes to address the council on this matter? Hearing none, would the council please vote? And will the clerk please post that vote? And the public hearing is closed by a vote of 5-0.
I'll move to resolution approving the development agreement with Danner Distillery.
Second?
Motion second on the resolution. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote? And will the clerk please post that vote? That passes by a vote of 5-0. Good luck. Next up, Pete, we've got a resolution on the Greater Dallas County Development Alliance.
Thank you, Your Honor. During strategic planning, the council prioritized City of Clive joining the alliance. I'm happy to report that that news was well received by the alliance members that I had the pleasure to have lunch with earlier this week at their annual meeting. As part of our agreement to join, we've set up some goals that both the alliance and the city have agreed to, with some focus on some key priority areas, all of which is in Dallas County for the next 12 to 24 months. These are goals. They're not things that have some contractual binding obligation on either the city or the alliance, but it is intended to give our work focus and rigor as we move into the coming months. And with that, I'd welcome Rachel Wacker, Executive Director for the Alliance, to the podium to say a few words.
Hello again. I'm so glad that we've arrived at tonight and have a path forward for a partnership with the Greater Dallas County Development Alliance. Over the years, or over the time that I've been here, many of you on city council and on staff have been so supportive of our organization by attending our events and et cetera. So we're just grateful to bring you on board and have you as a supporting member as well. conversations with Matt and Pete, we feel really comfortable with the direction you guys are moving in as far as intentional development and growth on the Dallas County side. And we're really excited to be participating in that conversation and assisting in guidance. So I can answer questions if you have any. Otherwise, you're all welcome to our next event whenever that happens.
Any questions? Yeah, go Eric.
Yeah, Rachel, looking forward to working with you. As we discussed previously, redevelopment's key right here. And for you guys, obviously Alice's Road and Hickman Road West in Dallas County are the key focus areas right there. So, it's a tight scope of work with some solid metrics as far as timelines of expectations, things of that nature. So we really look forward to working with your team and we know you guys can do a great job. So looking forward to the partnership.
Susan?
And Your Honor, I just have a comment. So we previously had a group in place called the Economic Vitality Committee. And I remember that group looking favorably upon securing some kind of arrangement with Dallas County. Just, I'd remind everyone, there was just a recognition that it could benefit us to be working with someone who has a consistent focus on economic development, especially for a community where we're moving toward redevelopment being such an important component. So I think the scope of work recognizes some of that, and I'm to share your view that that's an exciting thing to reach this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Anyone else?
I'll move the resolution approving membership in the Greater Dallas County Development Alliance.
Second.
Motion second. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote? And will the clerk please post that vote? That passes by a vote of 5-0. Next up, we have Walnut Creek Watershed.
Thank you, Your Honor. So as noted in your packet, the Walnut Creek Watershed Authority has updated the plan, the watershed plan that is at this point just under 10 years old. It was first approved in 2016 and now needs to be amended to reflect the changes in the watershed, the work that's already been done, and set some ambitious goals, but attainable goals for the member communities. To summarize, those goals are broadly to hold water on the landscape, preserve, expand, reconnect, and rehabilitate floodplains, better understand and improve surface water quality, regional collaborations and awareness, and sustain implementation through monitoring and reporting. Probably the biggest change that's in the plan now compared to what we had before are some very important metrics to show that everybody is contributing and hitting their marks. There are some big goals out there for Clive, but staff was right in hand in hand with the staff at Polk County and the other colleagues in the Watershed Management Authority to make sure that while ambitious, these are also attainable. At the end of the day, the goal is to have a healthier watershed, and staff believes that these updated goals and metrics will lead all of us to that future. So staff would recommend approval.
Thanks, Pete. Susan?
I'm very interested in asking for your support for this. There's been a thoughtful work with those who developed the plan. It's good to have buy-in from each of the participating communities. And I've been involved in it as current chair of the Watershed Management Authority. And would just note that it will next meet here at City Hall coming up on October 20th at 2 p.m. if anyone is interested in sitting in to see the work that the group is doing. So I encourage your support.
Thank you, Susan. Eric?
Yeah, and reading through the plan, I found it both comprehensive and very thoughtfully written as well. It's interesting to note that a lot of the projects in Clive are ones that we've been working on for many years. We talk about oxbows and soil quality restoration and visiting about how we, hold down the fast water. So I was pleased to see that, we're already taking preventive measures and moving forward in the implementation of this plan with focus and rigor, as a matter of fact. So, but I was also pleased to see that it recognized that a lot of the problems lie upstream. And there was a lot of focus on some of the communities upstream. What can they do to hold on to some of that water before it gets down to Clive? So I'm glad to see the realization of that and working hand in hand with our partners in upstream of Walnut Creek, where the water is coming from. So Very pleased to see that recognition.
Other questions? Otherwise, what we're looking for is a resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Motion is second on the resolution. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote? And will the clerk please post that vote? And that passes by a vote of 5-0. Pete, our strategic plan.
Thank you, Your Honor. So we've put a lot of work in together to arrive at this moment, and there's the official adoption of a number of very important strategic priorities, both on the policy agenda and the management agenda for the coming fiscal year. The full report from Lyle Sumnick is in your packet. We were already preparing to share the information with the community about these priorities that you all have set for the coming year. And as a staff, it really heartens us to see continuity with many of the projects that came from the past year, and also real optimism about where we're going with some big projects ahead of us. So we're looking forward to getting started with all of you to implement this plan.
Thank you, Pete. Questions for Pete? Otherwise, we're needing a resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Motion is second on the resolution. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote? And will clerk please post that vote? And that passes by a vote of 5-0. Liz.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I wanted to thank and celebrate with the council that we maintained our AAA bond rating. Fantastic.
Nice.
That is the best, the top rating, which will help us, of course, with the cost of borrowing as we invest in our infrastructure and other projects. So our bond will be among the best for the investors. So congratulations. The action for this evening is to approve the resolution setting the date for the bond sale, which is on October 23rd. And by doing that, we're also asking that you authorize the issuance of the preliminary official statement, which was included in your packet. So tonight we ask that that you approve the resolution to set the date for the sale.
Questions for Liz?
Move the resolution, set the public hearing for 10/23 at 6 PM for the sale of GO Urban Renewal Bonds, Series 2025B, and authorize the use of a preliminary official statement in connection thereof.
Second.
Motion and a second on the resolution. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote? And will the clerk please post that vote?
I was going to ask for that to be repeated. I didn't hear it all.
I'm glad to do that if you need me to.
That passes 5-0. We're done with that item on the agenda. Now we'll move to ordinance 1172, and I believe Ryan is covering that for us. I don't believe it involves windows. just to
Windows or no?
No, no,
You knew that was
no,
coming.
I knew it was coming.
Every time.
Thanks, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we're here to talk about the rental code and some of the items we've been working on since our last rental housing program. I think we were all on board indicating that the program bones are not really changing much with the program. And we were going to add a few tools to the toolbox, make sure that the one-off situations that we had some residents in here, we were well prepared to address those in a timely, quick fashion. So tonight I just want to touch base on what those tools are. And we've been working with legal counsel to fine tune these,
Sorry to
make
hear
sure
that.
that we're respecting tenants' rights and things of that sort. And making sure that we've got their strong support behind us as we're moving forward. You have that flow chart. Part of that.
No.
Not a big. Okay. So 3 items of the enforcement strategies that we're adding to the toolbox. These are going to be kind of a tiered structure. So 1 to 2 violations, we've got kind of the tools that we can use for that. As you progress, get 3 or more violations or get some criminal violations, the enforcement strategy is going to ramp up. Okay, so 1 to 2 violations. Traditionally, we've done the notice of violation. Working with the attorneys, we understand now that we've got to have appeal language in that. So that way they know that they have a time frame if they want to make an appeal. Once that appeal expires, obviously we'd be able to enforce the provisions or move on down to a different strategy with that. We also incorporated rent abatement on there, and that was a protection of both the tenants and neighborhood. The rent abatement is for situations where there's a hazardous situation or maybe an illegal rental being used out there. That's really not the tenant's fault. They signed up to lease the apartment or the house, and maybe it's not in our program. In those situations, we would use rent abatement, post it. The tenants would not have to pay rent in those situations. Another situation would be emergency conditions where it's not fair for those tenants to have to pay rent when they're not delivered a water service or a sanitary sewer. So rent abatement is in that 1 to 2 violations kind of category, pretty easy to maneuver that. And then we also have municipal citation, of which is on the books today. As we ramp up or have additional violations or perhaps get into some more criminal type things that are occurring on a property, we've got a code compliance meeting, which is going to be myself, it's going to be the owner of the property and one adult tenant that would have to attend that meeting. And basically, the intent of that meeting is to get us all together to talk about the issues. Get us all in the room, figure out a way to get this property under control, settle on a code compliance settlement agreement that we can all come to terms with and set a deadline, make that happen. Additional violations that would happen after that code compliance meeting, or in the event there's 4 more violations that would occur on that. We would go over, and any of the sanctions we would use now would be a BCAB function that we would have a hearing in front of the BCAB with either supporting one of 3 sanction items, which would be a reduced term rental certificate. So instead of having to pay every other year, they're gonna have to pay every year, and they're gonna have to get inspected every 2 years versus once every 6 years. So the city would have a little more handle on kind of what's occurring in there. We'd be able to get in a little bit more frequently. It's a little bit of an upcharge for that owner. However, we felt it was important to have that strategy in the box, be available to us. The second item was suspension of a rental certificate. Now, the next 2, the suspension and the revocation, the city has been working with the attorney to get the language correct to make sure that we respect the tenants in those situations. We may suspend a certificate, and that is between us and that owner. The tenant eviction is going to be through the court system. It's not going to be through us here at the city. So in doing so, BCAB is the first stop for that owner and the tenants. If staff feels suspension or revocation is appropriate, if there's 4 more violations or some criminal violations in on that, we would do a recommendation for a hearing in front of BCAB and have the owner and the tenants there to be able to speak their side of the story. And then move forward. If we get support from BCAB on that, we work with our attorney, just like we have been on some of the other situations. In addition to those enforcement strategies and fine tuning those, city staff has also been working on the program, the housing guidelines that we'll be able to distribute to the owners. Got a new registration coming out here in December and January. The new program guidelines have been updated with all of the new information. So it's an informational piece for them as well. That was included in the package, the housing packet for review as well. Nothing real major to comment on that. Since our last meeting, we haven't had any comments or concerns from any of the residents or tenants or business owners out there, so we would recommend approval. I think any questions?
Questions for Ryan?
I'd move that ordinance number 1172, having been considered by the council, be voted on for passage prior to its final adoption.
Second.
Motion second on the first reading, further discussion. Yeah, not for tonight, but I'm just asking for a clarification on heat. When you bring up sewer and water, I get it. To me, during certain times of the year, heat should be a basic a need. I'm not gonna push for air conditioning. But I do think, and I've just asked legal counsel before second reading, that we have some kind of clarification on heat, right? That heat is a requirement.
Qualify for rent abatement then, Mike, on that? Okay.
Yeah, if the heat isn't provided.
That is in that rent abatement as well.
Yeah, there's a little bit of,
Yeah, the way the amended, the proposal reads is we can trigger the rent abatement when an essential service is not provided for. And it specifically says water, sewer, electricity, heat. I think Councilmember McCoy just wants some clarification on what does that mean, right? Essential service, heat. Does it mean, certain periods of the year, certain temperatures? So we'll dig into that. Iowa Code 602 has more details on that, and I know we do reference that in our building code and rental code. So we'll double check and make sure that it is very clear what that standard is for essential service.
and what I'm looking for is not like space heaters in every single room, right? I mean, to me,
The
that goes
standard-
backwards on danger.
The standard is in the international.
There it is, the IBC.
The international code, the property maintenance code, and it's 65 degrees,
See, he already
2 or
knows.
3 feet above
He just knows.
the register. I mean, there is a spec on it. I mean, it's not.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, there's a minimum standard and it does provide a temperature and how far above the register that temperature has to be taken.
I don't need enough heat to reduce anything, right? As the fire chief would talk about, but I just need just enough heat, just not too much.
Yeah, we'll get that.
So he knows off the top of his head. Yeah, and I apologize, we did move this to a first reading. We had so many legal, changes that I felt more comfortable doing a new first reading. But I think we're very, very close.
Is there any further question from the council? Seeing none, will the council please vote? And will clerk please post that vote on the first reading? And the first reading passes by a vote of 5-0. Thank you, Ryan. Amanda?
Tonight we have the third consideration of ordinance 1166. This would be an amendment to the zoning ordinance that would allow for our commercial entertainment uses, those kind of athletic related type uses, bowling alleys, similar nature to that. In our C4 zoning district, we have had no questions, comments, or changes since the public hearing or first and second consideration. Staff would recommend approval.
Any questions for Amanda? Otherwise, we're looking
I
for.
move that ordinance number 1166 be considered for the third time, placed on its passage and adopted.
Second.
Motion second for the third reading. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote, and will the clerk please post that vote? And that passes by a vote of 5-0. Ordinance 1166 is declared to have been enacted. Now 1171.
So this is also the third consideration of 1171. That is the ordinance that will allow for collection of the TIF related taxes for the 86th Street area. There have been no changes and staff would recommend approval.
I'll move that ordinance number 1171, having been considered by the council, be voted on for passage prior to its final adoption.
Second.
Motion second for third consideration. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote, and would the clerk please post that vote? That passes by a vote of 5-0. Ordinance 1171 is declared to have been enacted. Matthew, 1167.
Yes, this ordinance amendment and the next three, so all four of these are just a response to the recent legislative changes. There's been no comments. Staff recommends approval of all four of them.
Very good.
I'll move that ordinance number 1167, having been considered by the council, be voted on for passage prior to its final adoption.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote? And will the clerk please post that vote? That passes by a vote of 5-0. Ordinance number 1167 is declared to have been enacted.
I'll move that ordinance number 1168, having been considered by the council, be voted on for passage prior to its final adoption.
Motion is second on 1168. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote? And will the clerk please post that vote? That passes by a vote of 5-0. Ordinance number 1168 is declared to have been enacted.
Move that ordinance number 1169, having been considered by the council, be voted on for passage prior to its final adoption.
Second.
Motion is second on 1169. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote? And will the clerk please post that vote? That passes by a vote of 5-0. Ordinance number 1169 is declared to have been enacted.
And move that ordinance number 1170, having been considered by the council, be voted on for passage prior to its final adoption.
Second.
Motion is second on 1170. Further discussion? Seeing none, will the council please vote? And will the clerk please post that vote? That passes by a vote of 5-0. Ordinance 1170 is declared to have been enacted. Thank you all. Let's move on to reports, and we'll start with you, Pete.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I've had a chance to mention this to a few of you before the meeting tonight, but we got a surprise earlier this week from the Department of Transportation about a necessary closure at Hickman Road that will go into place starting at 9 o'clock tomorrow night through 3 p.m., not 3 a.m., but 3 p.m. on Saturday. So this was not a scheduled closure, but it's important because the girders for some of the new expanded bridges are going to be elevated up and placed. And it's just not going to be safe for the workers or for pedestrians or for traffic to be moving in that space at that time. So we can deal with this. We've taken the DOT's information and have been aggressively sharing it. We'll have our own release that'll be going out tomorrow about the proposed or about the detour route and the length of the closure. But we are going to see some heavier traffic on 128th Street, Hickman, east and west of the interstate, University, as folks are moving east and west to get across the interstate, and then up and down 100th Street and 114th. We've already talked about this as a staff to make sure our partners at Westcom and our public safety first responders are all aware of the closure and what that will mean for responding to different parts of the city. They're well prepared, and we'll carefully be monitoring traffic to our best of our ability, but we do have limited resources that are going to be out there on the street as we are dealing with some heavier, significantly heavier traffic that we will probably see during the closure immediately under the bridge. The on-ramps that are open now, so that's northbound as you are heading west on Hickman and southbound as you are heading east on Hickman, will remain open. And so we're hopeful to be able to get some additional signage out there to alert people as they're approaching from those directions about what the movements they can make are when they get up to the bridge and what they won't be able to do. So hopefully we can limit the snarls and traffic as a result of this. The DOT knows that they didn't come up right on this. This should have been communicated significantly earlier. They've been placing these girders for a long number of days. And so this is something that they could see that was coming. And we appreciate that they've acknowledged that this could have been done better and that it needs to be done better in the future.
Thank you, Pete. And so this potential calamity occurred how long after Matt left town?
Unfortunately, I think this is the first rising to calamity level and he still has many days of vacation. I'm nervous now. There's more calamity coming.
Pete, what's our comms plan to relay this information to the citizens?
Right. So we're going to be using all of our channels. We've already got it up on the website where you have a blast going out from Greenie to everybody to receive it by text, and then we'll be sharing it by social media. We have asked our friends at the DOT if they can make some adjustments to their signage to direct people also to 100th. We're afraid that if we have a bunch of, especially large vehicles that are trying to navigate 111th, 114th, that the light at Forest Avenue, just up the hill, could become a real bottleneck with some of those larger vehicles. So we'll continue to work with them to optimize the detour routes as best we can.
Very good. Anything else, Pete?
Yes, Councilmember McCoy can probably speak to this as well, but he and I both were able to attend a DART meeting earlier this week where some of the proposed reimagined DART ideas were shared for consideration, and also some preliminary numbers were shared for what this could mean for their FY 27 budget. So as we get more information from DART on that, we'll be happy to share that information. And Councilmember McCoy obviously is our go-to, and we'll be looking for direction, I'm sure, from all of you on some of these questions that are coming across his desk. Some sad news earlier this week, earlier this month, we received that our state senator, Claire Celsi, has passed away. She had gone into hospice care in September. We were very, very sad to hear that news. Just before this meeting, the governor announced that the special election to fill that spot will be on December 30th, which is a very difficult time to have a special election. But that is the timing, I think, that might allow for seating in this coming legislative session. So I just received that information, and I'll make sure I include links to the news story on that. But most importantly, very sad to hear about the passing of our state senator. Legal counsel has and staff have been closely tracking some new training requirements that are coming to all elected officials and board and commission members for to comply with new state law. Unfortunately, it seems that some of our partners at the state level have been making good progress to make those trainings available. Staff is reviewing right now the options and what would be the best practice for us to stay in compliance. And once Matt's back in the office, we'll circle up and come back with a recommendation to all of you. Fortunately, it looks like there are going to be options that allow you to do this sort of on your timeline and online. So it's not going to be constrained by bringing everybody to a specific place in person at a specific time. We have finished up the last of our SQR installations for the 2025 version of the cost share program. Now we go into the survey phase where we ask residents, how was your experience? And when we do that, inevitably we come up with some casework. You hit this fence, you nicked this door, and then we need those folks to come out and fix that stuff up. So at our next council meeting, I'm hopeful that I'll be able to give you a full summary of the program for this year. And if not there, it will certainly be a part of the State of Clive water presentation that's coming up later this fall.
How many properties we end up covering with the SQR this year, Pete?
This year, we were over 100.
Wow.
Yep. So bigger than we'd been in the previous year. Part of that was because we had some additional grant funding from the state so that we could go bigger in a specific Clive neighborhood, the Angel Park neighborhood, and the Walnut Woods neighborhood just to its north. Tomorrow at 3:00, this was not in your Friday email last week. I apologize for that, but it only came together sort of this was at the beginning of this week. We're going to have a ribbon cutting for our new mural at the Harbach Center. So I hope all of you have had the chance to see some of the updates on social media as that's come together. It's been a wonderful experience working with so many families and kids to help with the painting. Our artist is from Ohio, and so we thought instead of having the artist come back another time to do a ribbon cutting, let's just do it while they're finishing up and are still here in town. So we hope that you all can join us there for some fun. We have invited all of the families that participated in that and hope many of them can join us too. We'll hopefully get some earned media. We plan on sending a release tomorrow morning to alert our friends and the media. Last thing to note, starting next week, we're going to take advantage of this good weather and this time while the asphalt plants are still up and running to get some improvements made to some key sections of the Greenbelt Trail. One of them is a really rough section between the Campbell Bridge and the interstate. That area is already closed now. So this is an opportune time to go in and make those improvements. There are two other sections, though, that are east of the bridge and east of 114th Street on the trail that will also be improved as part of this project. And tomorrow in your Friday email, I'll include an exhibit that shows you exactly where that's at and give you some details on our plan to communicate when those spaces are going to be closed, so folks are not surprised.
What does improved mean?
New asphalt overlay. Richard, maybe you can come and speak specifically to that.
Yeah, so what this was something that was budgeted as part of our operating budget last year. We identified sections of the Greenbelt that ultimately longer term need to be completely replaced, but knowing there's some larger kind of planning out there, some of the Indian Hills, Remander potential, and some of the other things that are coming up in the future year. We wanted to get the trail in better condition. So what we'll be doing is milling down the top 2 inches of existing asphalt, filling the cracks, and then putting 2 more inches of asphalt right back on top of it. So it'll give us a number of years and give us some time until we figure out what's going to happen in some of those other areas before we actually need to fully replace the trail. So kind of an interim step, but gets the trail in much better condition in some of the worst areas.
What's the timeline on this project, Richard?
It's gonna be pretty quick. So hopefully mostly done by the end of next week, but potentially into the following week, depending on how long it takes them.
It's great. It definitely needs it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is what the Parks team had identified as kind of the worst. It's about 2,000 feet between areas west of Interstate and the areas east of 100th Street that will get that mill up and then get the new section of asphalt down. So it should be a much better condition. I think will residents and people that use it will see much improvement.
Once we can reopen it.
Yeah, west of the interstate for sure, but yeah, immediately to the east there where they can use it now.
That'll be nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Finally, Your Honor, if you haven't looked out these brand new windows, so actually all of those windows were replaced this week. Some of them were had failed over the years, and we wanted to make sure that there was sort of a consistent look and feel across all of them. So all of those were replaced. But as you look out those windows, you'll see across the street at Greenbelt Landing, our playground is starting to come up out of the ground. The stage is coming up out of the ground. The patio covering is up and out of the ground as well. So wonderful to see such good visual indications of progress. That's been many, many months in the works, but now we're starting to see the fruit of that hard work.
Many years.
Many years, that's right.
Yeah, years. Great job.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Do you want to comment on the census and the government shutdown and the impact?
There have been a number of impacts from the shutdown. The census is front of mind. This Thursday was the date when census workers were supposed to be starting their work in the field, but at this point, they have not even occupied their office. We do still continue to pay for the lease on that office and the internet and the phone service so that when they are able to get back to work, they're ready to get going right away. But the load of work that's in front of them is significant. Even though we had a very good response rate online, we still have over half the households in this special census area that need to complete the census. So the door-to-door work is going to be significant. We're hopeful that this is resolved quickly at the federal level so that we can get back to work. We also have millions of dollars in funding that are still sitting in limbo for important things like voluntary flood property buyouts, some money for Greenbelt Landing, and multiple other projects.
Thanks for the update. I think it's important for us to know that.
Thank
Bree?
you.
Nothing to report.
Ted?
Nothing tonight?
Eric?
A couple of things, Your Honor. One is attended the Catch Des Moines annual celebration this week, and they had a great turnout. It was great to see Trina Flack step up as the new executive director. Also participated in a forum with yourself and Councilwoman Hocker as well, Gilroy's. In addition, Councilman McCoy and I did a ribbon cutting tonight at a new business here in Clive, Zen Wellness. So did that. And also Councilmember McCoy and I attended the Greater Des Moines Partnerships Government Affairs Council as well earlier this week. So
Very good. Thank you, Eric. Susan?
I just say I enjoyed meeting the artist who will be implementing the art piece across the way here and seeing many of you there that evening.
Mike?
Back to Pete's comments about DART, there will be some things coming up that we'll need to vote on. One, the plan, a reimagined DART itself, but also then Des Moines has asked for some special considerations for them. Two things being the biggest things that I don't think are going to get support is to open the 2080 back up. It sounds like that is a question for this group that we'll need to answer, as well as they want another seat on the DART board. And then consider that being whether we give them that seat or not. They also want a 3-year agreement with every city that the funding will stay the same for those 3 years, or that you can't withdraw within those 3 years as well. So those are things that are going to need to be voted on by this group by the end of, I know year for sure, but I think they're looking for it in November.
Yeah, the reason being it's that some of the funding considerations will affect what they can do with their FY27 budget. And so they've got to have some clarity on some questions so they can draft something for ultimate approval later in the spring.
I'm not sure how we do that, but it will need to come, a discussion with this council. That's it.
Thank you, Mike. Legal counsel?
I've had a chance to look at the heat question, and I can assure you that with Ryan's reference, the International Property Maintenance Code has been incorporated into the Clive City Code, and pursuant to that code section, the minimum heat requirement, which is essential services for the citizens in Clive, is, as Ryan mentioned, 65 degrees, measured 2 feet from the bottom of the floor. I think that's what he was trying to say from the podium. So that issue has now been run to ground, and that is the minimum essential service for and duty for an owner of a property. So heat is included. Other than that, I have nothing to report, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Any correspondence, Matthew?
Nothing further.
Your Honor, I
Yes.
would bring one other thing up. I apologize. I said as the chair of the board for WRA. And with that, we have the retirement of Scott Hudgens coming up in December 19th-ish, somewhere around there, which triggers the hiring of a new executive director for that position. It is a very tricky one because we're in the middle of a 28E governance revamp of that as well, and and the dictation of who's going to pick the next executive director will come in line with which 28E we're using, current or next. So Scott Sanders and I have met, and we have agreed that the executive board, the officers of the board, not the exec board, the officers of the board will be getting together here in the next 7 days-ish with Scott Sanders. And we will go through that process and come up with some agreed terms that regardless of what the 28E says, that everybody will be appeased a bit, that there'll be buy-in. So that will be Brad Dietz, myself, and Chelsea from city manager from Polk City. We'll meet with Sanders and we'll come up with that agreement, picking the next executive director, hopefully by the end of December or soon after.
That's quick.
Yeah.
Very good.
Really quick.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a big job too.
Really.
Anything else for the good of the order this evening? Seeing none, we'll stand adjourned at 6:51.